guys, this is Sandy Williams from Educational Innovation 360. Today we're talking about the biggest thing in the world. Most powerful tool in educators' tool belt is building relationships. So this is about teachers connecting with their students and building meaningful relationships, right? It is the foundation of everything. We're talking about trust, engagement, and equity, right? When we connect with meaningful students, we kind of open the doors to learning and growth that pretty much the basic curriculum just can't do. Building relationships matter. We know that. So research, of course, says when students feel that they're known, they're valued, they participate more, they take more academic risks, and they show stronger social emotional growth. It doesn't take any special tech tools or budgets to get that, but really it takes the intentional human connection. So taking a look at these 4 items: how are we engaging in our classroom activities? How are our students taking academic risks? Developing stronger social emotional skills and better academic outcomes. You have to get to know your students. So when do you do this? You do this at the beginning of the year. You have to get to know your students. You start with a student voice. Think of surveys, especially when they first walk in that door. It kind of gives you a pierce into their interests, their culture, their learning styles, their background. And then you can get to see how you can infuse that into the classroom. So what are you doing for your surveys, for family surveys, using tools like Google Forms or paper or prompts or discussions, conversations. So think about what are your one-on-one conversations, whether you're pulling students out at the beginning of the year, and then maybe you have your coach come in and observe to kind of note some things that they're seeing, some participation patterns, identify maybe learning styles you may have glossed over. So these are some crucial times at the beginning of the year to really get to know your students. Family engagement is the missing piece in what I see in schools. It doesn't have to be long. A 2 to 3 minute check-in can make a huge difference in connecting with families. When we're asking open-ended questions, we kind of write down some of the details: a birthday, a tournament, a journal, in your journal that captures all your student details, and then follow up to just show that you care. So when we know that when we provide essential context about students and their lives outside, they understand that our parents are sending their best. So they understand that we also value their child as their best when they come in. So thinking about what are you doing to make that engagement. I remember when it was COVID, one of the suggestions that I made to schools were, please have coffee time, right, with parents at least once a month so they can kind of tune in and ask those deep questions, so it doesn't always feel like I have to set an appointment, I have to have a parent-teacher conference. So thinking of what you're doing right now to make sure that you are connected at the beginning of the year with parents and families. I'm always excited about integrating. How are you integrating students' voice into your teaching and everything that is happening in the classroom, right? We have to be that detective. We have to identify who's participating in the activity, who withdraws, who doesn't want to do group work. These are informal observations that I'm definitely note-taking, and so I can identify how students feel in those spaces. And so when I'm pairing my notes with that conversation, it builds that support, and it also builds my lesson plans. So with you, I kind of feel like it's these 4 buckets. Collect the information, find the connection. So where students partner with, if you're partnering in groups and you know one doesn't like group, make sure the other one does, right? Really being intentional about what we do in the classroom. How are you adapting the materials to where it supports the learner? And then how are you inviting people to contribute? Maybe there's a role play in this lesson so everybody has a role and a stake in this activity. Like I said, the missing piece is the student voice and family engagement. So thinking about how are we holding our classroom meetings, whether you're doing the morning meeting at the beginning of the day or the closure at the end of the day. How are students reflecting on their day, reflecting on the task, reflecting on an assignment, reflecting on their grade, so that you know to make it better the next time or tweak it within the moment. How are you allowing for students to have choice? What are the options? I remember one of the teachers asking me, how can I make this assignment more diverse? And so I'm thinking we always begin with the end in mind, but what is the input and what is the output? What do you want from this activity or this project? And then what are the various ways that students can show that what they know on this project? So really going through that when you're creating your assignments. I want to be able to list all the activities that you need to know to get to know your students really well. Right? These are the ways to connect with families, from open houses to like translation services, from newsletters. These are kind of the bridges between the school and home, making learning that much more effective. So we're talking about, what are the student surveys? How are you collecting data? And then what checkpoints through the year. So we can think about, okay, if I'm collecting student survey, I can do it at multiple times. I can do it during testing, right? Pick one category and then make sure it kind of runs itself after that. Whether we're doing one-on-one conversations, think of your rotation schedule, your observations, your family engagement. How often do you have to always wait till parent-teacher conference? Thinking about, how do we make our lessons that much more interesting and where it's connected to students' lives? I was working with a teacher, her name was Lisa, and she asked me, with this assignment and this project that we're doing, how can we connect it to what's going on in the community? And so we were able to tie it to, it was a math, we were able to tie it to interest rates for certain loans. And so really thinking of, how can we tie this concept to either something they're facing, something their parents are facing, or the reality of their environment. And so thinking of, what are the voice activities, and then how do we reflect and continue to grow on the practice. I like to say agency matters when we're moving forward. So when we're thinking about our morning meetings, be small, consistent, and maybe bring out one or two strategies. Maybe you have choice boards, reflective journals, thinking about when student feels overwhelmed, or how can they take ownership of what they're doing, or how can teachers kind of remove the barrier and have students take the lead in these initiatives. And then you will see the motivation, you will see the achievement increase. And so when we're creating the journey with our students, we definitely have to document, and then we have to remember why it matters and continue marking that through not only our day, but letting students know that this is a journey, this is a lifelong learning, and we want to continue to grow and be better.